Hey guys, welcome back to another Morris Method video. As you can see in the title, we're going to be going over, are you eating less, or do you feel like you're trying to eat less and you're exercising a whole bunch and you still feel like you can't lose weight? Right, so if you're in that position and you're finding yourself doing all of these different things to try and make the weight loss happen, I'm going to give you 4 ways to try and get yourself out of this, out of this mud. It's a really hard place to be in, and realistically what we're talking about is potentially metabolic adaptation, and that's a real tricky conversation to be talking to someone about. So within this video, I'm going to be giving you 4 ways, 4 things for you to either think about or for you to try and come to terms with as to maybe what's actually happening within your body. Okay, so if that's you, if you're feeling like you're like, man, I'm trying to do everything that I can, I'm trying to eat less, I'm trying to eat really healthy, I'm trying to exercise a whole bunch more, and realistically, I feel like my effort is not matched in reward, I'm going to go over as to 4 reasons and 4 ways as to potentially why that's the case, okay? My point number 1 is going to be, if you can measure it, you can manage it. Now, when it comes to diet, there are a lot of things that you can measure, and there are a lot of things that you can then obviously thus manage. And how much you are eating and what you are eating and when you are eating is absolutely one of these things. So before you sit there and you just say to yourself, I'm eating less and I'm exercising a whole bunch more, I don't understand why I'm not losing any weight. Well, that would be my first step, is to measure it so that you can manage it, okay? Know exactly that you are in that scenario, because realistically there are so many people that come to me with that scenario that I feel like I'm eating less, I'm always hungry all the time, and I feel like I'm exercising all the time, but I'm still not losing any weight. As soon as we actually start measuring it, one, they're eating foods that they probably shouldn't be eating, particularly all the time, but then 2, they're just eating a ridiculous amount and way more than they actually ever realized, and that can actually just come down to because they haven't measured it. If you don't measure it, which is probably not something that you're going to want to do forever, and I get that, but if you can measure it, you can manage it. If you can manage it, then you can make all these adjustments that you're looking for, right? Which is thus, losing more weight, getting leaner, getting stronger, getting fitter and faster, and all those sorts of things. Okay, so that would be definitely my point number 1, is if you haven't had a good 2 or 3 weeks solid of measuring and managing yourself on, are you actually eating less and are you actually exercising more? If you don't actually know that, well then that would be my first step, because that's realistically one of the first things that I will want to do with a client, is not just dramatically eat less and exercise a whole bunch more, is I want to know what your state of play is. Where do you currently sit? What are you currently doing? So that we have then a bit of a roadmap and state of play as to, okay, this is what's happening and this is where you need to go. But the final, also, there is a point where a lot of people actually just say that they're eating less and exercising a whole bunch more, but yeah, usually they just don't understand, not always, and this scenario is not for everyone, but sometimes there is a scenario where they're just eating a lot of junk food and they're eating way too much and they're not exercising anywhere near as much, or thinking that that exercise that they're actually doing is doing a lot more when it might not be. Okay, so that definitely would be my first one. My second way, if you've done that and you really are eating less, okay, and you really are exercising, let's say, a whole bunch to try and force this weight loss to happen, okay, is severe chronic restriction of protein, amino acids, and fatty acids, so fat. If you have a chronic amount of time where you restrict and lower your protein levels, okay, which is an essential thing for your body, and your fat intake, which is another essential thing in your body, you will get metabolic adaptation, which is your body perceives that there is an energy threat, you are not eating enough, and it will slow your metabolic rate down to match what it is that you are doing. So you potentially could be eating less, or aiming to exercise a whole bunch more, and you're not actually creating this variance to thus create the weight loss or leaning out or reducing your body fat. Your body ends up just adapting to it, and you find yourself back at maintenance phase, just at a lower calorie standpoint as to what you're actually eating. So my second way is that if you're trying to eat less for a long period of time, and usually metabolic adaptation will be because of that, Okay, especially if you're a yo-yo dieter, if you're someone who has lost weight, regained weight, lost weight, regained weight, when you go in a chronically low amount of protein and fat in your diet, which is essential amino acids and essential fatty acids. These are things that you need to get into your diet, into your body. Your body will actually perceive that there is not only a macronutrient deficiency, but there is a micronutrient deficiency as well. And the body will actually go into, some people might want to call it starvation mode, but really it's just adapting to this lack of nutrient density. And you will find that your body will actually slow your metabolic rate to accompany that. And then if you find yourself in that position, if that's you in this position, it's a really hard position to get out of. So understanding what it is, how much protein that you're having per day, and are you actually eating enough fat? That is one big thing, that people don't eat enough fat in their diet. Healthy fat, that is. Not sort of mentioning things like seed oils and topics like that. Okay, so that would be my second one is, are you eating chronically low levels amount of protein, which I know protein, particularly for females, is a really hard thing to get. And then also, are you eating a low amount of fat? And I know there's a lot of people that still think that fat is bad for them, and it's a really big conversation for them to understand that, you know, your body needs fat, and it's an essential thing that your body needs to get into your diet. If you're chronically low on those sorts of things, you will get the potential for metabolic adaptation, which is where you land yourself in this position where you're eating less and you're not losing any weight, which is like the worst case scenario for all, right? Okay. If you are eating less and you feel like you're eating less, and let's say you are actually eating less and you're exercising a whole bunch more, my third way to get yourself out of this puddle is actually understanding that you are in metabolic adaptation, or people might call it starvation mode, and there are three things that you would probably need to do to get yourself out of that, and really they just revolve around, you need more nutrients, you need to prime your body. There is actually a phase where you would need to actually eat more nutrient dense food for a consistent amount of time. Okay, so I think there's three things that you need. It's time, it's patience, and consistency. Okay, so you need to have a certain amount of time where you are actually eating more and you're eating more nutritious food, so that your body actually doesn't think that you're starving and doesn't think that there's a famine kind of currently happening, so that your body doesn't actually withhold and conserve a lot of energy. You need patience, because really this is a really hard phase, and for me to coach clients through this is the hardest phase for me to coach them through, is because they're going to be doing something now for for a return or a result in the future that they can't see. It's very hard when you can't see that there's an absolute result that's going to come your way if you do X, Y, and Z today. It's very hard to be motivated to do that. So you've really got to do your research, and you've really got to understand what you're actually going through. The third little one would be consistent. So you may eat more for 1 week, and you may eat way too much, and then you gain a whole lot of fat. So if you eat way too much too quickly, you will gain too much fat when you try and prime yourself to get yourself ready to lose weight. So it needs to be consistent, but there needs to be micro changes, okay? You can't robustly just go, right, I'm eating this amount and I've got metabolic adaptation, and now I'm gonna fix it and I'm gonna eat a whole bunch more just to try and cure it. It usually takes a very layered approach and focusing on what you're actually adding back into the diet, as opposed to just adding all these sorts of different types of energies back into your diet, okay? So that would be my third one. My fourth one is, above eating more over time, slowly, to get yourself out of metabolic adaptation, is to slow down with the intensity of training. If you really are eating less and exercising a whole bunch more, usually that's exercising with a stack of volume, a stack of cardiovascular training, maybe some weight training in there as well, but usually also a lot of intensity. And all of that mixed together is a fantastic result for a flawed training plan. Okay, so not only are you going to see really, really poor physical performance results out of a training plan like that anyway, even if you're not going through metabolic adaptation, but if you are expending an excessive amount of highly stressful training plus volume, there's too much energy out. The body is perceiving that there is too much energy going out, and obviously not enough energy coming in, particularly nutrients wise. Okay, this is where you can then get this position where the body goes, you know what, this is no good. We need to save some of this energy, because there's way too much going out and there's just not enough coming in. And this is where you find yourself in a position where you're eating less and you're just not losing any weight. And it's a really, really horrible position to be in. I've been there, you know what, a numerous amounts of time, not for many years now, but it's not a nice thing to go through. And to think that you have to eat more to then lose weight in the future almost sounds backwards. But once you understand how the way that the body works, and once you are coached through it, it does make a lot more sense as to why it's happening. Okay, but yeah, my fourth one would be to look around your training. If there's way too much energy going out and not enough going in, it's a recipe for metabolic adaptation. Okay, conservation of energy is going to be the body's primary thing that it wants to do when you're doing that. Okay, so probably lowering your volume, lowering how much chronic cardio that you're doing, and particularly lowering the intensity also is going to allow for a much healthier body, a healthier position in regards to like how much energy is going out and versus how much energy is going in. It allows you to get healthy first. And then once you've primed yourself and you're in a position to lose weight, the weight loss phase and the weight loss cycle becomes significantly easier. So if that's you in this position, these are 4 things that I think that you should think about. If any of them have sparked anything and you want to learn more about something, hey, put a comment down, let me know, or send me a DM, and I'm more than happy. I might not be able to answer the question, but hey, if you've got a question that you think that I might be able to help with, jot it on down and let me know. Otherwise, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.